2. Welcome back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We're live on Radio Row. Marathon. This guy's up running back and forth again. My Facebook friend, my LinkedIn pal, provides me with some inspiration from beautiful, sunny Santa Monica, California, even when the polar vortexes come down upon us. Leigh Steinberg is back on Radio Row with us. Man, it's all about Patrick Mahomes. This close, right? I mean, you were out in Kansas City. I know of your affinity for him, and you bringing him around Radio Row a couple years ago. He's been on a nice little journey for as part of your story and your resurrection as an agent superpower.
Well, Nestor, you don't expect someone to have that sort of success in their first year starting. In other words, we knew he'd get there, but you can't read the field all that well as a starting young quarterback. Troy Aikman was 1-15 his first year. People like Art Manning and Elway threw double the interceptions that they did touchdown passes. So it's sort of stunning that he's about to be MVP.
Well, also when he's drafted into a spot where you know they have some plans for him, but they also had a quarterback. We had that happen in Baltimore this year with Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco, that ownership would say, he's passed the test. We're going to send Alex Smith off and create this position for him. That's also something you don't know when your guy's drafted, right?
But we did know that Kansas City had great ownership. They had a great front office, that Andy Reid was a quarterback whisperer. Matt Nagy was excellent. And Alex Smith was a very generous mentor to Patrick. And so I was really happy he went to a team where he did not have to start right away, where he could have a year to assimilate things.
Well, you're known for your successes, I remember you bringing Achilles Smith around, different guys that didn't make it. So much is the environment. So much is, we've sat here with Ron Jaworski talking about Joe Flacco. So much is the offensive line and the system and the offensive coordinator, who the quarterback coach is and who the mentors are. And not everyone falls into a circumstance like Mahomes did, exactly. Or that Jared Goff did, quite frankly. You were out in L.A. trying to bring a franchise to L.A. all those years and get stadia built and all that. When the Rams came, it felt like a pretty empty cupboard. That cupboard is now sort of getting full, right?
Oh, they're excellent. I fell in love with football. My father took me to the L.A. Coliseum, and we watched the Rams back in the 50s and 60s with the $1 seat. So you needed a telescope to see the field. So I'm really thrilled that they're here because they were my childhood team. But Mahomes has an incredible work ethic. He grew up seeing from his father, who's a major league pitcher for 11 years, what it takes behind the scenes to succeed. And he also got the concept of not getting too high or too low. So he's got a remarkable affinity for the game. And if you like him on the field, you'll love him off the field because he's a consummate role model.
Well, that is the part where I know that makes it special to you, because I think it's very clear. Luke, you could speak to this as well. We're in locker rooms, every week, and we see great players and great people, and sometimes they converge and they are one and the same, or sometimes they're, sort of in the Tom Brady, Jordan realm of maniacal in their fitness and in their privacy, and not everyone is created the same way, and you've seen them all different, black, white, north, south, right-handed, left-handed. There's all sorts of personalities, but boy, this Mahomes kid, of all the transcendent stuff that you're into, of all of these quarterbacks and where the interest is, he's a fascinating kid, right? That could transcend football.
Yes.
Right? And the way maybe Peyton Manning did that.
Yes.
Making break commercials or
right.
whatever.
Patrick's got that, and he's very bright. He has an which means he can recall, like a Sean McVay can, every single play he's ever been in, which means he doesn't make the same mistake twice because he can visualize
Say that word again. What?
Eidetic. Eidetic.
Eidetic?
Yes.
Send that to me on Facebook when you go home, Lee, after the party and whatnot. I want to research. I like this. This is good.
Yes.
That's why I bring you on. I bring smarter people than me on, so I learn things, which is good. But
So anyway,
well, that would be helpful to remember everything.
Yes.
I wish I had that.
Well, I have
all the drugs in the 80s.
My son and I have the same sort of memories, so I'm familiar with it, where you can visualize virtually everything that ever happened. Anyway, we're working on a charitable foundation. It's going to be 15 in the Mahomes, where he's going to go back and retrace his roots.
The Mahomes?
The Mahomes.
Can I be a Mahomie?
You can be a Mahomie. We held off on endorsements for the first year or two to try to give him a chance to establish himself on the field and not be over every billboard. But we have Mahomes Magic Crunch cereal coming out in a couple weeks.
Are they magically delicious?
They are.
Now, there's no ketchup in that, right?
You don't. Yes, please. Consumer advisory. Not meant for ketchup. But no, we've actually dialed down the sugar in it. It's sugar flakes, so it's healthier for kids.
You know why are the Mahomes?
We have Hunt's Ketchup and Avocare and Panini and Adidas.
Does it sell itself with Mahomes yet? Kind of, sort of?
We're not even. You don't even have to pitch. I mean,
the phone rings.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's a nice way to do things. Leigh Steinberg here, of course, the super agent and also agent for Patrick Mahomes. And I know you're bringing a bunch of young folks around here this week. And talk about your own personal resurrection. I know you talk about your book and what you've been through and where you are on the other side of this. Now, I remember a few years ago you were trying to just get some more clients, and now you have top flight clients. You're bringing guys around. The second time around, different for you?
A lot more fun.
Okay.
Because I will tell you, earlier in my career when I'm doing 62 first-round draft picks and first pick in the draft 8 different years, I never stopped to enjoy it. I mean, it was always on to the next thing. And now I have much more sense of appreciation for how unique and special this all is. I struggled with alcohol. My main goal was to remain sober and to be a good father to my kids. And so those were the two goals I wanted to achieve. And that when people talk about comeback, that was the comeback, not professionally. Because I always knew I could do this.
You have an aptitude for you have a gift for this, right? But managing the rest of it, for a lot of people, that's the issue, right? I mean, managing all of their, everyone's life's complicated. It doesn't matter if money or kids or fame or not. It's complex.
And Nestor, the reason I've been open about this is I know there are people still struggling, and I want to offer them hope that there are 12-step programs that will help people, and they shouldn't despair.
Leigh Steinberg here, talking real life. Do you set goals every year? Do you do a goal setting? I know you say you teach the stuff, but do you sit every December, every July, and sort of measure where you are on the continuum of where you want to be? Make sure you're heading toward the light.
I picked a profession that everything I love to do in the world, I could call it my job.
Work, right.
So if I wanted to write a best-selling book, I could do that. If I wanted to do movies like Jerry Maguire, I could do that. If I wanted to be involved in a concussion summit at our Super Bowl party on Saturday to try to continue to explore that issue. So whatever I thought was fun and rewarding. But the major thing is I had a dad who had 2 core values. One was to treasure relationships, especially family, and the second was to try to make a meaningful difference in the world and to help people who couldn't help themselves. So that's how I judge myself. Have I made an impact in the world? If it's bullying, domestic violence, if it's child abuse, if it's racism, it's the environment, are we collectively doing enough to address those issues?
Well, I'll tell you one place you made an impact on me, and I think I may have brought this up with you at some point in the last couple of years, but you did an event in Miami on the beach, and Luke, this was the damnedest thing. And my wife's nodding. She's like, yeah, I remember that. Because I've been to maybe 10 or 15 of your parties over the years. Some years snow or, whatever we're done. I hope to come this year with my wife. We're here. We're bored. It's Atlanta. Thanks for throwing a party.
And I got to tell you, you better hang on to your wife. She looks very foxy.
Yeah, I know. She's come back as a brunette. It's incredible. We went down to the waterfront in Miami, and he had a party down on the in downtown Miami. and they had a thing that looked like a Zamboni. So if I'm giving you a picture of what the item would look like. And it had a hose on it that looked like something that my uncle had on his Prowler trailer when we used to drive up to Pennsylvania for the weekend, and I'd play tetherball like Napoleon Dynamite. But this is like the thing that would come out of the commode that goes into the water, and it had a tube. And they were sucking the water out of the whatever the Biscayne Bay, whatever that water body of water is there. Certainly, you would not take the Strategic Factory Cup here and drink from it, but they had a device that looked like a Zamboni that ran it through, and it looked like a beer tap, and you could turn it on, and you could drink the water. So you wonder, this machine that they explained to me that day, they could take this to Africa, to places in Indonesia, places where water is a real challenge, and give people clean water. So I want to let you make that story a lot smarter. But that was an impact you made on me at one of your crazy little Super Bowl parties.
So cholera had broken out in Haiti, and they just had an earthquake. So that machine saved the lives of 140,000 people a day by giving them pure water. But that's why we're on
incredible,
this.
Man.
That's why we're on this planet. We're doing a live hookup in the party between troops in the field in Afghanistan and the party, so that they can talk to athletes. We've raised money for autism. And all the money we raise at this party is going to the charities of our humanitarian award winners. So we're giving a award for philanthropic service to Mark Davis, to Matt Nagy, to John Robinson of the Titans, and John Snyder of the Seattle Seahawks, and Aaron Jones, Nick Lowry. And their charities we raise money for. But you see, sports is a magnificent platform for role modeling, but it's also a magnificent platform to address any issue in the world. And so one of my new projects is anti-bullying, which is kids being traumatized at an early age for things that really are not their fault, and they go through life feeling less than. So,
well, every one of us experienced that or was privy to that in whatever school, whatever environment, whatever culture in this country in the second half of last century. Everyone saw it.
So if you think about it, athletes at the high school level are atop the food chain, right? And so we're taking pro athletes, having them work with high school athletes, so that those high school athletes become the people who are pushing tolerance and setting the example, not the bully.
Leigh Steinberg here. Last thing for you. I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick. I mean, that's a thing that disturbs me as someone with this pass and supporting this league and running around and flying the shield and making this all okay. I'm not okay with the Colin Kaepernick thing. I'm not even a little bit okay with it. So when I see coalition speaking out about that, I'm not okay with a lot of parts of the country, but I'm not okay with banning a football player. I'm not okay with the Curt Flood thing.
See, I have a different take on that. I have seen over the years that if it gives a team a better chance to win, I mean, they would sign a serial killer.
And have.
Yes. So I think that what happened to Colin Kaepernick is that he flourished under Jim Harbaugh, and then they kept switching coaches, and it wasn't his system, so he didn't do quite as well. So what you needed to do was resurrect his career by taking any contract for the situation. And so when it became a political cause and not just trying to advance his career, it's different. But
I think the NFL's on the wrong side of the political cause. And I think deep down there's a lot of people who feel that way.
Oh, you mean
don't act upon
You mean
that.
the fact that 7 owners gave over $1 million to Donald Trump?
Correct. Yes, just among other things. So Leigh Steinberg is here. We'll continue this conversation hopefully later on in the year, and I love checking in with you. And thanks for everything you've done and inviting us here and educating us, and hope to maybe one year you'll have Patrick Mahomes up here.
You know, in some ways, if you think about it, your wife is a role model because, you know, she dealt with life-threatening illness and has come back beautifully. So she's a role model for other people struggling like that. We're all can be role models in our own lives for.
We're change the world. You're inspiring me. Leigh Steinberg here. We're live on Radio Row. All things Super Bowl 53. Full coverage brought to you by LifeBridge Health Sports Medicine Institute, as well as our friends at Curio and Wellness. Go check them out on York Road, just south of Timonium Road. You can also find them at CurioWellness.com. I'm Nestor. He's Luke. We're on Radio Row in Atlanta. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson.